It was meant to be a Toyota success. It was intended to be a 23-win celebration. But when the dust had settled in Kansas, all Bubba Wallace could do was flip the bird. How about Denny Hamlin? He was left to defend himself against his own driver and every NASCAR fan with a Twitter account. What about Chase Elliott? He was the unwanted guest who arrived late, stole the food, and left with the prize. Let us take a step back. This wasn't a typical race. This was war, a playoff conflict, and every lap in Kansas felt like a minefield. Denny Hamlin led 159 laps. That is supremacy. Despite a rocky start, Bubba Wallace clawed his way up and found himself on the verge of victory. The 23 automobile was flying. The anarchy began. Wallace won the first overtime period. The lead was his. He only needed to hold on a bit longer. But fate, or perhaps NASCAR, had different plans. A 4-car incident prompted a warning as Wallace reached the white flag. One lap away from glory, and everything has reset. Second overtime. Tension is boiling over. Denny posed a threat rather than just a competitor this time. Hamlin became aggressive as the green flag dropped. Too aggressive. He plunged low, drew tight, and tagged Wallace on turn 3. Bubba smashed against the wall. A move like that? You would expect it from a competitor, not your own team's owner. And with that, the door opened. Chase Elliott, with 4 new tires and nothing to lose, sped past them like a burglar in the night. He led just 24 laps all day, but he led the one that counted the most. I wasn't going to lift, Elliott explained afterwards, and you know what? He did not. He pushed Hamlin aside and grabbed the checkered flag with ferocity. The 9th vehicle reached the finish line. The crowd erupted. Meanwhile, behind him, the true story was only beginning. Bubba Wallace didn't wait till he got to pit road to express his feelings. The middle finger flew out the window, pointing directly at the owner of his team. And when the cameras caught up with him, Wallace tried to remain calm, but the fire was quite intense. 2 years ago, I'd probably say something dumb, Wallace remarked. That was a foolish move on his part. I don't care whether he is my boss or not, but we are going for the win. It wasn't simply frustration. That was betrayal. Wallace had done everything correctly. He was ahead in overtime, and his own co-owner knocked him out of contention. And for what? Is this a desperate move? A careless gamble? Denny Hamlin wasn't simply going for the win. He was fighting his own squad, and he lost. Hamlin did not deny the contact. He did not sugarcoat it. Got really tight with the 23, he said. I couldn't finish it at the last corner. We let the 9 win. Tight racing, however, is not the same as making unsafe judgments. And many fans were immediately asking on the internet, did Denny Hamlin cost Toyota the win? Did he cost Bubba Wallace his playoff spot? Chase Elliott might have won, but the spotlight switched swiftly. It wasn't only about the race anymore, it was about a broken dynamic. Driver versus boss, friend versus teammate. Wallace was 26 points behind the cutoff before Kansas. He gained only 1 point. And now, as he approaches the Roval, he knows he needs to win. I hate that we gave it to Chevrolet there, Wallace said. Toyotas were extremely fast, and I was proud to be driving one. I thought it was meant to be, but it wasn't. Consider fighting back from outside the top 20. Imagine being out in front, poised to win, only to be forced into the wall by your own person. Then image attempting to explain it without losing your mind. That's what Bubba Wallace was up against. No amount of team public relations could clean it up, but we aren't done. Denny Hamlin was not keeping silent. In reality, his reaction was only getting started, and it was not pretty. Denny Hamlin could have remained quiet. He could have accepted the heat, apologized to his driver, and refocused on the next race. But Hamlin wasn't going out like that. After being chastised online for the move that put Bubba into the wall and given Chevy the victory, Denny did what he does best, fight back. "Give me a break," he wrote on Twitter. It was his first shot. He wasn't buying any of the fan theories portraying him as careless or selfish. "I was off the gas and on the brakes 100 yards before the 23 let off," he told me. "I was turning as hard as I could given the aerodynamic condition. That race was well deserved by the 11th team. It did not work out." That's the thing. Hamlin wasn't simply racing Wallace, he was racing without power steering. He was wrestling an automobile that refused to cooperate. Nonetheless, he went all in, dived, and made contact. To him, that was desperation, not recklessness. But for Bubba Wallace, it was a betrayal. And no amount of arrow situation discourse could make it better. Allow me to explain why this is more important than just one finish at Kansas. This isn't just driver versus driver. It's a power battle within 23 Kechtwonth Racing. Wallace is meant to be the team's face. Hamlin is expected to be a mentor, supervisor, and leader. But what happens if the boss races like a rival? What happens when team orders are ignored and the guy who writes your salary throws you into the wall? That moment in Kansas was more than just racing lines. It was all about trust, and Bubba had lost it. You could hear it in his voice. You could see it in the finger. He lost more than simply a victory. He lost trust. What about the fans? They immediately chose sides. Some people backed Bubba, others stood alongside Denny, but no one was talking about Chase Elliott anymore. He won the race. He reached the round of 8. But this was not a celebration. It was a scandal. "I wasn't going to lift," Elliott explained after the race. And you believe him. He appeared out of nowhere in the second overtime, racing past the Toyotas with cold-blooded accuracy. He took advantage of the confusion. He slid through the gaps. While the 11 and 23 were too occupied colliding with each other, the 9 car was already on its way to victory lane. Denny Hamlin really wanted this one. "It would have been 60 for me," he explained. "That's 60 Cup Series wins, tying Kevin Harvick. That is legacy territory. That's an all-time fantastic talk." And instead, he drove away with a mangled automobile, an irate driver, and a PR nightmare. He admitted it himself, wanted it a little too hard. But perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect wasn't the loss, but what it cost Bubba. Wallace finished 27 points below the cut line. He leaves 26 behind. All that effort, all that recovery from a poor start to the race, and all he has to show for it is a middle finger on camera and a must-win situation at the Roval. And let's be honest, Charlotte's Roval isn't where you want to bet your season. It's a road course minefield. Anything might happen. Wallace is no longer merely racing the field. He's running through his emotions. He was furious. His displeasure with the same person who is meant to be on his side. Can they get past it? Maybe. NASCAR teams have recovered from their worst-case scenarios, but this was more than simply a scuffle. It was a meltdown. Public, loud, messy, and it had fans wondering, is 23 to Winkin Racing breaking under pressure? Chase Elliott did more than simply win a race. He detonated an entire team. And as we approach the final race of the round of 12, the aftermath is far from ended. Bubba's playoff prospects hang by a thread. Hamlin is defending against his own organization, and Toyota, once primed for dominance, was just outfoxed by Chevy when it counted the most. So now I'll ask you, was this merely hard racing? Or did Denny Hamlin jeopardize his team's future by pursuing his own legacy? Share your ideas below, because something tells me this drama is just getting begun.